Hello, YouTube. This is one of those subjects which requires focus. I hope you find my words balanced and real. I did not prepare for this video, but I have something important to say. I construct no illusions that this topic, the topic of rape, is potentially volatile. However, talk about rape and men, or male rape, then you potentially step into the twilight zone. I shied away from exploring this topic for many reasons. I decided to retire my former wimpy stance, though the subject of rape is a delicate topic, and sometimes I stumble over my words. Unless we use the proper mixture of sensitivity, fact, and empathy on both sides of the equation, we will potentially create more damage. I do not proclaim to present anything new to the table. There are plenty of people on YouTube who have years of experience in acting as MRAs or feminists or people who are just simply concerned about human rights, who do a marvelous job at presenting their ideas. However, I would like to present my insight, examination, and opinion. I am not an MRA, as you probably know, but I do feel that men do not get adequate representation regarding certain subjects of concern. Many times the issues get lost due to ideologues and gender wars that function like a red herring. Women and children first. Women and children first. It appears to be a call that is far from innocuous. It appears to be Western cultural programming that communicates the worth of the male. This, along with socialization via racial stereotypes, both internally and externally expressed, cultural indoctrination, or class programming, can really do a head job on the masses. Part of the issue regarding addressing male rape are myths that surround it and the perceived value of men by society. There appears to be a deity status assigned to women, generally speaking, especially in the civilized world. What I see frequently is the victim goddess complex. The sweeping generalizations, sometimes spoken and often implied, that they, meaning women, can do no or little wrong is pervasive. Men rape men, but women also rape men. However, in our society, many things make it easy. Many ideas, many myths, many constructs make it easy to stigmatize men or to enforce a stigmatization regarding rape as it applies to men. Also, traditional gender roles forces some to believe they should accept abuses. Just man up and deal with it, right? This becomes even more complicated if the rape is directed by a member of the female sex. The importance of this topic resurfaced in my mind due to several recent videos that I viewed and my subsequent reading. Our Commander-in-Chief's administration expanded the FBI's definition of rape. Men can be considered victims of rape for the first time. That doesn't sound right, does it? Also, the requirement that victims must physically resist their attackers has been dropped. It is good to see this. Indeed, it is a step in the right direction. But what mystifies me is how it could legally be reasoned that only women could suffer from the theft of consent and force upon her being. There should have never been a Violence Against Women Act, but a Violence Against People Act. I can see the smug expression dripping from Vice President Biden's face as he revels in the resurfacing of his authorship of this particular act. Yet, he merely makes the empty comment, and let me see if I can get it right here, and I quote, Rape is a devastating crime, and we can't solve it unless we know the full extent of it. No shit, Sherlock. I know that already. Most people know that already. What are you really saying? Not anything. Really, not much at all. Anyway, Attorney General Eric Holder announced the new wording, and I quote, if I can get this correct. No, let me read it. Okay, here we go. The penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object, or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without the consent of the victim. That wording just doesn't seem right, because it seems as if we are concentrating on the action and not consent. Yes, I know consent is included in the wording, but there doesn't seem to be any real concentration on that. Indeed, the revised definition is more inclusive. But what about this idea of consent? This seems to be more of an underhanded ploy than a real change of an antiquated dynamic. Without the abuse of consent, rape is not possible. So why don't we focus more on consent instead of penetration, and make penetration and the way in which one can be violated an afterthought? I don't know. Tell me what you think. FBI Director Robert S. Mueller, I think I pronounced his name correctly, spelled Mueller. Well, he approved this definitional change. Yippee, yippee. But will this provide law enforcement not only increased business, but real rape offense data, when consent is not really part of the new language? Now, from what I understand, it is acknowledged that if the victim is incapable of providing consent because of mental or physical incapacity, and that can be temporary or permanent, is addressed. But the language still suffers. Also, due to the inadequacy of the language, I wonder how this will affect men within prisons. We know that speaking out in prison regarding such violations can provide you with a ticket to the grave or infirmary. So, lawmakers, how about being more inclusive by dwelling, once again, like I said earlier, on consent? This news and the willingness of the prison industrial complex to take this seriously may provide hope to one who is abused in our modern, ineffectual cages of punishment. Though I do not have any facts, I will offer the opinion or the reasoning that more rapes, in my mind, it just seems that more rapes probably occur in prison and the military combined compared to free society. So you would think people who are involved both in the military and in the prison systems would have a voice regarding this. Yes, I know, it is not a contest. But if this statement is correct, if my thoughts are correct, then we can yet again, in detail, understand the ugliness of this former legal language and question the new legal language. Oh, and you know what? I can see this comment coming, so let me just stop you. I acknowledge that men are not limited to being raped in a prison, a locker room, homes, places of employment, etc. So just don't go there. I personally become weary of hearing that men are impossible to violate. The thought stopper here is the societal norm of male expectation to function as a pursuer of sex. therefore eliminating the possibility of them functioning as a victim. Also, maybe if we stop thinking of sexual violation as strictly orbiting the act of penetration, then this would improve our relations to any rape victim, no matter the gender. Men and women can be sexually violated without penetration. I'm going to make a preemptive strike right now. If one's body betrays them, and an act of sexual release occurs during the crime, and it is a crime, let's not surrender to the feel-good trap that a sexual crime did not happen. It means, and it only means, that the body responded to an external stimuli. I'm sorry, I'm kind of discombobulated a little because I keep replaying in my mind that the legal system is just now recently acknowledging that you do not need a female body to be victimized. And this just really sickens me. And yet, I rarely hear anybody speak about this. It makes me realize just how much that action has empowered myths about male rape. By the way, strength, occupation, sexual orientation, the mental representation of the victim, race, and size does not matter when it comes to male rape. Anyone can be assaulted. And no, male rape is not limited to gay men. Just because there are few cases reported regarding the female raping of men does not mean it is not a reality. When are we going to stop fooling ourselves to believe that women are some sort of paragon of virtue just because they have a uterus? A woman does not need to overpower her victim with the use of a drug. That is one way in which she can take advantage of a male. But there are other ways, some not so conventional. If you think that it can't happen, rape that is, because of the faculty consensus that there is an inability for a female to force a male to produce an erection against his will, then you're tripping. It has been demonstrated repeatedly that men have little to no control over that anatomical function. Don't address me about an erection being a physical indication of consent. We tend to have a disconnect when it comes to the fact that arousal can happen during a violation. This just makes it more difficult for the male to deal with. Many cannot bring themselves to report that they have experienced a manipulated or involuntary ejaculation. I want to tackle one more traditional story some accept as historical truth. The inability to become pregnant does not diminish a male's ability to suffer as great as his violated female counterpart. And how do we measure these things anyway? Why does it matter? Tell me. If someone is suffering, that's all that should matter. Are you really going to attempt to form a rational argument that psychologically a woman is more tender than a man as it applies to a ravishment? Would it not be more honest to acknowledge that responses to rape is as varied as the individual who experiences it? Let's not be deterred by thought stoppers, myths, past insensitivities, inaccurate statistics, and euphemisms. Thank you for your time.